Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield, where thoughts race, emotions collide, and peace feels just out of reach in a world that never stops moving? It's easy to lose yourself in the noise, to search for calm in all the wrong places: success, approval, distraction. But the Stoics taught us a different path. True peace doesn't come from what surrounds you, but from what stands firm within you. It is not the absence of chaos that defines tranquility, but the presence of a steady mind amid the storm. Stoicism doesn't promise comfort, it offers clarity. It doesn't remove hardship, it reshapes how you face it. In this video, we'll explore 8 timeless strategies drawn from Stoic wisdom, simple in practice yet powerful in impact. These are not abstract ideas, but tools for real life, meant to anchor your thoughts, sharpen your focus, and build the kind of inner strength that endures. If you've ever longed for stillness in a restless world, you're in the right place. Stay with us. This journey into the Stoic mind might just change the way you face everything. 1. Embrace what is. You wake up one morning. A single message shatters your calm. Plans collapse, a relationship ends, or a long-awaited opportunity slips away without warning. In that moment, your mind spirals. Why me? Why now? But the truth is simple. Though not easy, it has already happened. No amount of resistance will undo it. Stoicism teaches us a hard but liberating truth. Peace is not found in controlling events, but in accepting them as they are. Reality doesn't ask for your permission. It unfolds according to its own nature, and your strength lies not in resistance, but in response. To embrace reality is not weakness, it's an act of quiet courage. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. The wise do not curse the wind, they adjust their sails. Picture yourself driving when a sudden storm hits. You can complain, curse the sky, or dwell on ruined plans. But the rain won't stop for your frustration. Or you can turn on music, steady your hands on the wheel, and adapt. The difference isn't in the weather, it's in the mindset. But how do we live this principle, especially when the heart aches or plans unravel? First, notice your resistance. When anger or sorrow arises, pause. Ask, can I change this? If not, every ounce of negative emotion is energy misspent. Your flight is delayed. Use the time to reflect, read, or simply breathe. The obstacle hasn't changed, but you have. Next, shift from resistance to adaptation. Don't ask, why is this happening? Ask, what can I do with this? A failed project becomes a lesson. A lost opportunity makes space for something better. As Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Lastly, prepare your heart before the storm comes. Practice premeditatio malorum. Visualize difficulties before they arrive. This isn't pessimism but training. When life hits, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready. Acceptance is not surrender, it's clarity, a calm surrender to what is, and a focused will to shape what can be. Bend like the reed in the wind, flexible, resilient, and unbroken. And once you've embraced the present, there's only one thing left: to release the past, but we'll return to that in the next music lesson. 2. Let go of the past. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the invisible chains that quietly imprison your mind. Picture yourself crossing a narrow bridge while carrying a heavy pack filled with past regrets, old wounds, and moments you wish you could rewrite. Every step becomes harder, not because the road is difficult, but because of the weight you refuse to put down. The truth is, most of what you carry no longer serves you. They are echoes, memories without real power in the present moment, yet they shape your emotions, your identity, even your decisions. Stoicism doesn't teach us to erase the past. It teaches us to accept it, learn from it, and then move forward, lighter, freer. Seneca once wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." The pain of the past, when accepted and understood, becomes wisdom, but only if you stop clinging to it. So, how do you let go? Start with a simple but powerful realization. The past only holds power if you allow it. The mistake is already made, the loss already felt. What remains is your interpretation, your choice to relive it or release it. Ask yourself, am I using this memory to grow, or am I using it to punish myself? Sometimes we hold on not because we want to, but because pain becomes familiar, like a worn-out story we keep retelling. But ask yourself honestly, does this pain honor what you lost, or does it keep you stuck? A helpful exercise: write down what still haunts you. A failure, a broken relationship, a word you wish you never said. Then ask, does this still have real power in my life today, or is it just a shadow I've mistaken for something solid? To let go is not to forget. It is to reframe. View your scars not as proof of failure, but as reminders that you survived and grew. You are not who you were then. You are who you choose to become now. And most of all, practice. Letting go isn't a one-time act. It's a daily decision. Some days the past will whisper to you, try to pull you back. When it does, answer it gently. That story is over. I'm writing a new one now. Third, anchor in the present. The human mind is like a boat, adrift on the river of time, tossed between the shadows of the past and the fog of the future. If we do nothing, it drifts endlessly, pulled by regrets we cannot change and fears that may never come. But there is one place where these currents lose their power: the present moment. Here, right now, is the only moment that truly belongs to you. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't waste life reliving what was or worrying about what might be. They anchored themselves in the now. As Heracles once said, we should restrict ourselves to the present, for only this is truly ours. And yet, for many of us, living in the present feels strangely out of reach. We eat without tasting, speak without listening, walk without noticing the ground beneath our feet. We don't live, we rush through life, always somewhere else in our minds. But what if you stopped just for a moment? Listen to the hum around you. Feel the breath entering and leaving your body. Ask yourself, is anything missing in this very moment? Often the answer is no. Everything is whole, everything is enough. Being present is not about ignoring the future. It's about giving your full attention to the moment where life actually happens. A warrior doesn't ignore what lies ahead, but he knows he cannot fight tomorrow's battle with today's sword. He must be here now, mind sharp, senses awake. One of the simplest and most effective ways to anchor yourself is through the breath. When your thoughts begin to wander, pause, inhale deeply, feel the air fill your lungs. Exhale slowly. The breath is always present. Let it guide you back. Have you ever lost yourself in a sunset, a song, or a silent moment so powerful that time seems to stop? That's not coincidence. That's presence. And in that space, peace arises naturally, not because the world is perfect, but because your mind is no longer fighting it. To live with clarity, we must learn not just to act, but to pause. Because sometimes wisdom comes not from motion, but from stillness. And in that stillness, we rediscover what it means to truly live. 4. Pause with purpose. In a world obsessed with movement, we often believe that stillness is weakness, that to pause is to fall behind. But the Stoics knew otherwise. True strength, they taught, lies not in constant motion, but in knowing when to stop. Think back to a moment when your thoughts raced in circles, or when working harder only led to deeper exhaustion. That was your mind's quiet plea for stillness, not escape but restoration. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is to pause, not to abandon effort, but to return to it with clarity and renewed focus. The ancient Romans had a word for this, otium. It wasn't laziness, it was intentional rest, a sacred space for reflection, inner order, and mental renewal. Seneca once wrote, "We should give ourselves a break." The mind must be given time to recover, not just once in a while, but regularly, like a muscle that grows stronger in rest. Even just a minute of mindful pause can act like a reset for the soul. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, let your thoughts rise and fall like waves without chasing them, or step away from your desk. Feel the sun on your skin, and simply observe without judging. These moments are not wasted, they are investments in clarity. Here is something worth trying. The next time stress builds, don't push through it. Instead, pause for just 30 seconds. Anchor yourself in your breath. Feel the rhythm of your body returning to balance. It may feel small, but in that stillness, your mind begins to reorder itself. And if you want this to become a way of life, make it intentional. Before a difficult task, pause after completing one. Breathe, create space between actions, space where wisdom can emerge. Use a simple mantra, pause, breathe, observe. Over time, these small pauses become something more. Stillness will start to infuse even your movement. You'll no longer feel the need to chase time, because you've learned how to master it. Moment by moment, we've now reached the halfway point in our journey to a calmer, more focused mind. If you're still here, it means something powerful. You're serious about your inner growth, and what comes next will take you even deeper. Stay with us, the best is yet to unfold. 5. Master your thought. An untrained mind is like an untended garden. Left alone, it becomes overrun. Weeds of fear, doubt, envy, and self-pity take root, choking the growth of peace and wisdom. Unlike nature, these mental weeds don't wither on their own. If ignored, they flourish and quietly shape our inner world. That's why mastering your thoughts isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The Stoics understood this with absolute clarity. They didn't seek control over fortune or fate. They focused on the one domain that always remains ours. The mind, as Musonius Rufus said, it is not possible to live well without thinking well. What you frequently allow into your mind becomes the color of your soul. If you dwell in resentment or self-doubt, your spirit will begin to reflect it. But by cultivating awareness, You reclaim authorship over your inner narrative. Start by observing. Notice your thoughts without judgment. Ask, where does this thought come from? Does it serve me? Most worries are not truths. They are assumptions, echoes of old fears or inherited beliefs. A single failure doesn't mean you're incapable, but thinking ill never succeed turns momentary setback into a prison. Picture your mind as a flowing river. You cannot stop the current, but you can choose which thoughts to grasp and which to let pass like driftwood. The goal isn't to fight your thoughts, but to create space between you and them. To see clearly, not react blindly. A practical tool: write down the thoughts that frequently repeat in your mind. On paper, they lose their intensity and reveal their nature. You may discover that what seemed overwhelming was just an echo of an outdated belief. Remember, thought patterns can be reshaped. The harsh self-critic can learn gentleness. The anxious mind can learn balance. But this transformation doesn't happen in a single leap. It's like training a muscle. Steady, intentional, and daily. And perhaps the most Stoic lesson of all: not every thought needs your attention. You don't have to engage with every emotion that rises. Sometimes the wisest move is to simply observe, to let the thought pass without feeding it. Mastery of the mind isn't about control. It's about clarity, and with clarity comes freedom. 6. Detach with grace. Have you ever clung to something so tightly, an ideal, a person, a plan, that you didn't notice it was hurting you more than helping? Like gripping a rope in a storm. Your hands raw and bleeding, but too afraid to let go. We convince ourselves that if we just hold on tighter, we won't lose what we love. But often, it's that very act of clinging that creates our suffering. Imagine standing on a bridge over a fast-flowing river. Leaves, twigs, and branches float by. If you lean down and try to catch one, you risk slipping, even falling. But if you stand still and observe, you remain grounded while the current continues its course. This is the essence of graceful detachment, not coldness, but wisdom. Stoicism does not teach us to stop caring. It teaches us to care well, to love fully but not fearfully, to commit with heart but without illusion. As Arian once wrote in the Discourses of Epictetus, attach yourself only to that which cannot be taken away. We will lose people, opportunities will pass, plans will change. This is life. But suffering is not in the loss. It's in our resistance to it. We say, it shouldn't have ended, or I can't live without this. But the Stoic knows we don't possess anything. Not truly. Everything is borrowed. Even our breath. Think of the things you value most. A dream, a loved one, a role in life. Picture them as birds resting in your open palm. You don't cage them, you don't clutch, you simply hold them, grateful, and when they take flight, you smile, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you love them freely without trying to own them. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free," and freedom often begins with letting go, not in bitterness, but in peace. Let go of needing everything to go your way. Let go of the illusion that control brings certainty. When life doesn't unfold as planned, ask yourself, is this mine to control? If yes, act with purpose. If not, release it gently. Like a leaf on the river, let it pass, and in that release, feel the quiet strength that comes not from having less, but from needing less. To detach with grace is not to give up. It is to live without fear, love without condition, and walk through life with open hands. 7. Cultivate gratitude. Gratitude at first glance may appear gentle, even simplistic, but in the eyes of the Stoics, it is one of the most powerful disciplines of the mind, not a passing emotion, but a conscious choice, a mental lens through which we begin to see life, not through what is lacking, but through what already is. A man may live in luxury yet feel impoverished, forever haunted by what he does not have. Another may eat a simple meal alone, but feel deeply fulfilled because he has trained his mind to recognize abundance, even in its humblest form. As Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True richness, according to Stoic philosophy, lies not in acquiring more, but in learning to need less." Gratitude is the soil in which this richness grows. But the modern mind is not conditioned for gratitude. We scroll, compare, and crave, constantly reminded of what we lack. We dream endlessly of the next success, the next possession, the next version of life that will finally make us whole. But the Stoics invite us to pause and ask, what if the life in chasing is already here, waiting to be noticed? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not hanker after what you do not have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest of what you do have, and think how much you would long for these things, if they were not in your possession." This reflection isn't just philosophical, it's practical. It reorients your mind from craving to clarity. Gratitude is not reserved only for comfort and ease. A true Stoic cultivates gratitude even amid adversity. A fail-fated plan may offer a valuable lesson. A broken heart may reveal the depth of our capacity to love. A setback may strengthen the will. The Stoic does not thank fate only when things go well, but also when hardship refines the soul. Try this practice each morning. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, not grand abstract ideas, but small real things. The quiet before sunrise, a difficult lesson you finally understood, a friend who checked in on you. Over time, you'll find yourself noticing more, needing less, and complaining far less. Science now affirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Consistent gratitude rewires the brain, increasing emotional resilience and reducing anxiety. It becomes a source of strength, not just sentiment. But perhaps the greatest gift of gratitude is this: it brings you fully into the present. It teaches you to see, to feel, and to appreciate what is, rather than what might be. And in that presence, you gain not only peace, but clarity. Now imagine this: you wake up one day, and everything you love, your home, your health, your people, is gone. In that moment, how deeply would you wish to have it all back? Just for one more day. But today you do have it. The only question is, do you see it? Gratitude teaches us to live as if everything were a gift, because it is. And once you see life that way, you stop living in pursuit and start living in presence. And when presence becomes your natural state, you're ready for the Stoics' final lesson: to turn inward, reflect honestly, and evolve with intention. Reflect to evolve. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." It may sound harsh, but it reveals a deep Stoic truth. Growth begins with honest self-examination. And yet, in a world filled with distraction, we often spend more time analyzing others than turning the mirror inward. We move quickly through life, but without reflection, we risk mistaking motion for progress. To reflect is not to dwell in regret, nor to critique yourself into paralysis. It is a tool for course correction. Like a sailor who checks the stars to adjust his course, you too must pause to ask, am I heading where I truly want to go? Picture each day as a piece of music. As evening falls, the Stoic musician doesn't shame himself for missed notes. He listens with presence. He learns. He adjusts. Reflection then is not a judgment. It is a fine-tuning of the soul. One powerful practice is simple journaling before bed. Just a few lines. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? What will I improve tomorrow? You don't need perfect answers. You only need honesty. A Stoic doesn't aim to be flawless. They aim to be better. And each evening becomes a quiet rebirth, a new chapter with deeper clarity. Many avoid reflection because it exposes what we try to hide: flaws, insecurities, wasted time. But without awareness, there can be no growth. As Heraclitus taught, we must begin by evaluating our own life before we can understand the world. Without that inner audit, we drift, reacting to life instead of choosing our direction. Reflection also means acknowledging how far you've come. In a culture obsessed with perfection, recognizing progress is radical. Maybe today you were a little more patient, a little less reactive, a bit more present than yesterday. That's not failure, that's victory. Real growth doesn't roar. It whispers in small, consistent choices. Think of your character like a structure being built. Without checking the foundation, invisible cracks form. At first, no one notices, but over time those cracks grow. Without reflection, unchecked thoughts, habits and emotions accumulate, quietly shaping who you become. So make reflection a sacred ritual, like a craftsman sharpening his blade. Spend 5 intentional minutes each night reviewing your day. Write, pause, adjust. You're not chasing perfection. You're cultivating awareness. This habit, done consistently, transforms not only how you think but how you live. You begin to see life with greater clarity. You make decisions with purpose, not impulse. You respond instead of react. To reflect is to choose evolution. To evolve is to live with intention. And at the end of each day, ask not, what did I get wrong? But rather, what did I learn? If you can answer that honestly, then no day is wasted, and transformation has already begun. We've just explored 8 simple yet profound strategies, drawn from Stoic wisdom, tools not only to calm your mind, but to strengthen your spirit. These aren't abstract theories, they are daily choices, quiet acts of clarity, courage, and self-mastery. Peace of mind isn't a gift from the world. It's a practice you build moment by moment through acceptance, discipline, and the wisdom to let go of what you can't control. And when you walk this path with intention, you don't just find calm, you discover your strongest self. If this video offered you something meaningful, feel free to like. It helps bring this message to those who might need it. Share this with someone seeking inner steadiness. And if a particular idea resonated, drop it in the comments. Your insight could inspire another. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to keep growing on this journey. There's more ahead, more depth, more clarity. Until next time, stay grounded, stay focused, and keep moving forward. Have you ever felt like you're constantly pouring yourself out, yet never quite full, like the world keeps pulling at your sleeves, demanding more of your time, your energy, your attention, until there's barely anything left for you in a society obsessed with noise, endless scrolling, and chasing illusions of success. It's easy to forget the simplest truth. Your life belongs to you. The Stoics knew this long before us. They taught that peace isn't found in pleasing others or chasing status. It's found within, in the quiet strength of a focused mind and a disciplined soul. When you stop scattering your energy in 1,000 directions and start directing it inward, you reclaim your power. You begin to live not by reaction, but by intention. This isn't about shutting the world out. It's about returning to yourself. Because when you learn to master your mind, the world loses its grip on you. Welcome to Stoic Lens, where we don't chase illusions, we face reality. Today, we're exploring what happens when you focus solely on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom. If you've ever felt stretched thin, of course, or just tired of giving more than you get, this is your sign to pause, look inward, and begin again. Take a breath. Let's go deeper. Number 1, prioritize yourself or be controlled. Let me ask you this: whose life are you truly living? Epictetus, one of the most respected Stoic minds, once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, if your path is shaped by the applause of others, you've already lost your way. Because the harsh truth is this: when your ambitions are borrowed from society, your life no longer belongs to you. Most people live in quiet desperation. They wear masks to fit in. They follow rules they never questioned, and they exhaust themselves trying to meet expectations that were never theirs to begin with. They chase titles, possessions, approval, only to wake up one day and realize they don't recognize the person in the mirror. It's a silent kind of slavery. They say yes when they want to say no. They give their time, their energy, even their identity away, hoping to be accepted, to be liked, to be enough. But in doing so, they abandon the one person they can never replace, themselves. Here is the Stoic truth: no one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you peace, purpose, or power. And the more you sacrifice yourself without boundaries, the more invisible you become. The world respects those who respect themselves first. Now, does that mean turning cold or selfish? Absolutely not. Stoicism isn't about detachment from humanity. It's about detachment from illusion. There is a profound difference between serving others from a place of strength and letting them drain you out of guilt or fear. A Stoic seeks balance. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Before you can uplift anyone else, you must first anchor yourself. That means setting standards. That means saying no. That means walking away from people, habits, or environments that diminish your value. When you start prioritizing yourself, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop seeking permission and start living with purpose. You no longer bend to fit someone else's mold. You define your own. You become grounded, disciplined, whole, and paradoxically, the moment you stop needing others' approval is the moment they begin to admire your presence. Why? Because you've become someone who leads themselves. So ask yourself and answer honestly: are you the author of your own story, or just another actor in someone else's play? If this message speaks to something deep within you, drop a comment below. I choose myself because in the end, no one else can do that for you. Number 2, let go of validation. Most people live in a quiet prison, one built not of walls, but of opinions. They spend their lives trying to control how others see them, shaping their behavior to earn approval, filtering their truth to avoid judgment. But no matter how much you try, you will never control the minds of others. Be too confident, they say you're arrogant. Show humility, they say you're weak. Succeed, they call it luck. Focus on yourself, they call it selfish. So let me ask you, why should you care? Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who once lived as a slave, taught that true freedom lies in focusing only on what is within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. Everything else, how people feel, how they judge, what they say, is beyond your reach. Yet most people spend their lives fearing what others might think. They chase validation like a shadow, never realizing that the more they seek it, the more they lose themselves. Why is validation so addictive? Because, deep down, many don't trust their own judgment. They seek external reassurance to feel worthy. But Stoicism teaches that worthiness is not something to be given. It is something you must claim for yourself. The moment you stop chasing approval, you become unshakable. You no longer bend to fit someone else's mold. You walk your own path, speak with quiet confidence, and act without the need to explain. That kind of presence cannot be manipulated. And here's the paradox. The less you seek validation, the more respect you earn, because people are drawn to those who don't need their approval to begin with. So, next time you hear the voice in your head asking, "What will they think?" answer it with the truth. It doesn't matter. Their opinion won't define you. Their approval won't fulfill you. What matters is how you see yourself. If you're ready to reclaim that power, comment below, "My mind belongs to me," because once you stop living for others, you finally start living for yourself. Number 3, guard your focus. Most people believe they are thinking for themselves, but in truth, their focus is constantly being pulled by others, friends, employers, even strangers online, not through force, but through subtle influence, opinions, guilt, and expectations. They all work like invisible hands, guiding our emotions, shaping our choices. The Stoics wouldn't call this dark psychology. They'd call it external disturbance, a force that only has power if you let it enter your inner citadel. When you allow others to guilt you for setting boundaries, you surrender your peace. When you stay in unhealthy relationships out of fear or guilt, you lose your freedom. When you give your time to gossip, arguments, or distractions, you abandon your purpose. But here's the truth. No one can steal your focus without your permission. As Epictetus taught, no one is free who is not master of himself. The Stoic path is about reclaiming that mastery. You must learn to recognize manipulation not as a trick from others, but as a test of your own clarity. You're not at war with people. You're at war with your own reactivity. When you stop explaining yourself to those who misunderstand you, you become free. When you stop engaging with noise, you grow stronger. And when you protect your attention like sacred ground, you start to build a life on your terms. So, if you felt scattered, distracted, or emotionally hijacked, it's time to return to yourself. Comment below, "I guard my mind," because once you do, the world can no longer divide it. Number 4, detach to gain power. What if I told you that the most powerful person in any room is the one who feels the least need to react? The moment you become emotionally detached, not numb, but centered, you become truly unstoppable. Why? Because no one can pull you into their chaos. No one can use their words, opinions, their moods, or their judgments to shake your peace. You become a wall they cannot climb, a mirror they cannot distort. Stoicism teaches us that true power isn't about controlling others. It's about refusing to be controlled by anything outside of yourself. As Emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that. How many times have you allowed a careless comment to ruin your entire day? How often have you drained your energy worrying about things far beyond your influence, opinions, outcomes, or imagined futures? The world is built to provoke you. Its noise, distractions, and emotional hooks are all designed to keep you reactive and therefore weak. But the Stoic response is simple and powerful: indifference. Not the coldness of apathy, but the calm discernment of knowing what truly matters. When you master the art of indifference, negativity loses its grip. Insults slide off your mind like rain off stone. Drama passes you by like wind through branches. People may try to get a reaction through criticism, praise, guilt, or fear, but they fail. And the paradox: the less you react, the more powerful you appear, not because you're pretending, but because you're anchored in something deeper: self-mastery. So, how do you cultivate emotional detachment the Stoic way? First, detach from approval. What others think of you is none of your concern. Their opinions don't shape your reality, your character does. Second, detach from outcomes. You don't control results. You control effort, discipline, and intention. Let the rest unfold as it will. Third, detach from provocation. When someone tries to push your buttons, remain still. The reaction is what they crave. Deny it. And lastly, detach from distractions. Gossip, arguments, and petty debates are thieves of your focus. Your mind is a fortress. Guard it well. Emotional detachment isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means you've stopped trading your peace for things that were never yours to hold. So, the next time someone tries to shake your calm, remember, a Stoic mind is like a mountain, unmoved by the winds, indifferent to the storm. Stay composed, stay disciplined, stay in control. If you're ready to master this level of peace, comment below, "I control my mind," because once you do, no one will ever be able to break you again. Number 5. Discipline over distraction. The average person today isn't enslaved by chains, but by impulses. They wake up and reach for their phones without thinking. They scroll, they consume, they chase comfort, avoid challenge, and wonder why life feels dull, directionless, and out of control. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic understands that freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of self-mastery. As CLEANTHES, a lesser-known but deeply respected Stoic, once said, "The man who conquers himself is greater than he who conquers a city," and that's the truth most people avoid. If you cannot command your thoughts, your time, your desires, you are not free. You're simply drifting, constantly swayed by the next urge, the next notification, the next emotional wave. In our modern world, distraction is the true enemy. Social media, endless entertainment, cheap dopamine hits. They don't just waste your time, They steal your focus, your energy, your life force, because a distracted mind is easy to guide, easy to influence, easy to control. And here's the secret: no one can manipulate the man who is already in command of himself. Discipline is not punishment. It's liberation. It's choosing discomfort in the short term to build strength in the long term. It's saying no to what weakens you so you can say yes to what strengthens you. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Zeno, didn't waste their lives chasing pleasure or running from pain. They trained their minds like warriors. They built inner fortresses the world couldn't shake. So how do you build this kind of discipline? First, train yourself to resist comfort. The more you seek ease, the weaker your will becomes. Embrace challenge, lean into discomfort. Growth lives there. Second, limit your inputs. Not all information is wisdom. Cut out the noise. Protect your mind from negativity, from endless scrolling, from empty comparison. Third, master your time. Every moment you waste is a moment surrendered to mediocrity. Guard your time like a treasure. Spend it with intention. Fourth, act. Don't overthink. Most people stay trapped in endless preparation. A Stoic moves with purpose, thoughtfully but decisively. And finally, detach from the outcome. Discipline isn't about chasing results. It's about committing to the process. Show up, do the work. Let the rest unfold, because a man who commands himself, his habits, his reactions, his energy, is a man who commands his destiny. The one who doesn't, he is ruled by everything and everyone around him. So ask yourself, who do you want to be if you're ready to rise above distraction, to reclaim your inner strength, and shape your life with intention? Comment below, I choose discipline over comfort, because once you make that choice, everything begins to change. Number 6. Power in silence. Why do most people fear silence? Because in silence, there's no one else to distract them from themselves. No background noise to blur their thoughts. No constant conversation to keep them from facing their truth. So they drown themselves in stimulation, scrolling endlessly, talking constantly, consuming noise like a drug, all to avoid the one confrontation that matters most, the one with their own mind. But the Stoic doesn't run from solitude. He embraces it. To the Stoic, solitude is not isolation. It is strength. It is the arena where clarity is forged, where illusions dissolve, and where the self is sharpened into something formidable. Zeno, a humble Stoic who followed Zeno, once said that a man must retreat into himself as a fortress, not to escape life, but to prepare for it. And Marcus Aurelius, though he ruled the Roman Empire, found his greatest strength not in conquest, but in stillness, in quiet moments of reflection, in pages of journaling where he confronted his weaknesses, refined his thoughts, and returned stronger. Why is solitude so powerful? Because when you remove the noise of the world, your thoughts grow louder and clearer. You begin to see what truly matters. You stop chasing opinions, trends, and expectations. You become grounded. You become self-reliant. The Stoic doesn't need a crowd to feel important. He doesn't need applause to know his worth. He is whole within himself. In solitude, no one is there to provoke you, no one to flatter or insult. Just you and your inner world. And that is where mastery begins. You gain emotional control because you learn to sit with discomfort without needing to react. You develop mental clarity because nothing pulls you away from what truly deserves your focus. And you become harder to manipulate because the man who enjoys his own company cannot be controlled by the fear of being alone. Our society glorifies constant connection, endless interaction, but ask yourself why. Because a distracted mind is easier to influence. A person who can't be alone is easier to please, easier to sway, easier to keep small. But the man who walks in silence, who builds in solitude, who does not chase attention, that man becomes unstoppable. He doesn't announce every move. He doesn't explain himself to the world. He listens more, speaks less, and acts with quiet conviction. And when he returns from the silence, he returns sharper, calm, untouchable. So the next time you feel discomfort in being alone, don't run from it, lean into it. There, you'll find something most never will, yourself. If you resonate with this truth, comment below. I thrive in silence because once you embrace solitude, no force in the world can shake your foundation. Number 7. Why cutting people off is sometimes necessary. Not everyone in your life is meant to stay. Some people are anchors, quietly dragging you down, keeping you locked in old patterns. Others are distractions, cluttering your mind with gossip, doubt, and petty drama. And some, they are emotional parasites, feeding off your energy while giving nothing in return. The greatest mistake you can make is holding on to relationships that no longer align with your growth. But many stay out of guilt, fear of confrontation, or the ache of loneliness. And in doing so, they sacrifice their peace. A Stoic, however, understands a deeper truth. Detachment is not cruelty, it is clarity. As Seneca wisely advised, associate with those who will make you better, and though unspoken, that advice carries a hard edge. Cut off those who don't. If someone constantly drains your energy, disrespects your growth, mocks your ambition, or guilts you for setting boundaries, they are not your ally, they are a weight. To move forward, you must be willing to let go. Walking away is not an act of hate, it's an act of self-respect. Because the moment you say, "I choose myself," you unlock a level of strength most never reach. You stop begging for peace and start protecting it. And when your energy is no longer wasted on the wrong people, the right ones find you naturally. If you're ready to release what no longer serves you, comment below, "I let go with strength," because real growth requires real courage. And sometimes that means walking away. Number 8. Build inner confidence. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a discipline. Most people believe confidence comes from what they have: money, looks, titles, praise. But what happens when those things disappear? Their sense of worth collapses with them. Why? Because it was never real. It was built on sand. The Stoic sees through this illusion. He knows that true confidence is built from the inside out, rooted not in what the world gives, but in what can never be taken away. Self-mastery. An untrained mind crumbles at criticism. It panics in hardship. But the Stoic mind stands firm, calm under pressure, still in the face of noise, untouchable in the storm. Because it has learned this truth, anything dependent on the external is fragile, but what is built within is unshakable. So how do you build this confidence the Stoic way? Detach from validation. Your worth isn't measured by likes, praise, or applause. The Stoic validates himself through virtue, not vanity, embrace discomfort, the more adversity you face, the more capable you become. Confidence grows from challenge, not comfort. Control your reactions. Don't be quick to anger or fear. True confidence is quiet, still and composed. It doesn't flinch. It observes. Own your presence. Speak less. Move with intention. You don't need to prove anything when you already know who you are. Because confidence at its core is simply this: the belief that no matter what happens, you will handle it. And that belief isn't gifted. It's earned through discipline, through failure, through showing up again and again. Look around. Most people are desperate to be liked, to be seen, to feel worthy. But the moment you stop chasing approval, something powerful happens. You start to attract it, not because you need it, but because you've become someone who doesn't. You no longer compete. You no longer compare. You just live, anchored in your own power. If you're ready to live from that place of quiet strength, comment below, "I am enough as I am," because once you believe that, the world can never make you feel small again. Number 9, freedom through self-mastery. At the heart of everything we seek, success, peace, strength, lies one ultimate goal: freedom. Not freedom in the political sense or even financial, but something deeper. The freedom to think clearly, to act without fear, to move through life without being ruled by emotions, opinions, or the expectations of others. The freedom to own your mind, your choices, and your destiny. Most people will never taste this. They live in invisible prisons, bound by toxic attachments, self-doubt, and a constant need for validation. They chase applause, distractions, and temporary highs, and by the time they realize they've traded their life for things that don't matter, it's already slipping away. But you have a choice. You can live like the many, reactive, uncertain and dependent, or you can walk the Stoic path, inward, disciplined, unshakable. The final lesson of Stoicism is simple yet life-changing. Freedom is self-mastery. It's not about controlling the world. It's about mastering yourself. When you no longer need approval, you become immune to rejection. When you stop chasing noise, clarity emerges. When you no longer fear solitude, you discover your power. Epictetus, once a slave, became one of the freest men in history, not because his circumstances changed, but because he did. So here is the final truth. The moment you stop caring about what doesn't serve you is the moment you become truly free. You've made it this far, and that says something powerful. It means you're not here to live on autopilot. You're here to grow, to lead yourself, and to rise above the noise. Now it's time to turn insight into action. Drop a comment below with just 3 words. I choose me. Let it be your quiet declaration, your first step toward full ownership of your life. If this message spoke to something deep within you, consider subscribing, not because you have to, but because you're ready for more. More clarity, more strength, more truth. This journey isn't about chasing perfection. It's about returning to yourself, one focused decision at a time. Stay grounded, stay intentional, and remember, when you learn to master your mind, you unlock the kind of freedom the world cannot give or take away. We've only scratched the surface. The next step is waiting, and so is your transformation. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "I shouldn't have said that"? In a world that rewards quick replies and louder voices, Silence can feel like weakness, but the Stoics saw it differently. To them, silence wasn't retreat. It was mastery. A disciplined mind doesn't rush to speak. It observes, it listens, it waits. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. Everyone is shouting, defending, reacting, but there you are, calm, still, unmoved. That is the strength of silence. It's not about hiding your voice. It's about choosing when your voice truly matters. Today we explore 7 moments when silence isn't just wise. It's powerful moments when holding back protects your peace, sharpens your focus, and shows true strength. You might recognize yourself in more of them than you think. And the last one, it's something most people overlook, but once you understand it, it will change the way you handle conflict forever. So stay with me, reflect, observe. This might be the quiet lesson you've been needing. Number 1, when emotions are controlling you. One of the most powerful moments to choose silence is when your emotions are louder than your reason. We've all felt it, that sudden rush of anger when someone says something unfair, or that sting of hurt when we're misunderstood. The instinct is to fire back, to defend ourselves, to prove a point. But in those moments, you're not speaking from wisdom. You're speaking from a wound. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that when we let emotions drive our actions, we surrender control. And nothing is more dangerous than words spoken in anger. They often hit harder than intended and land where they weren't meant to. Once spoken, they can't be unsaid. You might win the moment but lose something far more important: trust, respect, or even your own inner peace. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Staying silent in a storm of emotion isn't weakness. It's strength under pressure. It's stepping back instead of lashing out. It's giving yourself the dignity of a second thought before saying something you'll regret. Let me share a story. A man I once met, let's call him Marcus, worked under a manager who often criticized him unfairly, sometimes even in front of others. After a tough week, Marcus found himself publicly called out for a mistake he didn't make. The room was silent, all eyes on him. His fists clenched, his heart raced. Every part of him wanted to shout back, but instead he took a slow breath and said nothing. Later that day, after the heat of the moment had passed, Marcus asked for a private meeting. Calmly, he explained his side, brought clarity to the situation, and even suggested a better process to avoid similar issues. His silence in the moment of confrontation didn't make him look weak. It made him look composed, professional, and trustworthy. His manager not only respected his response, but eventually relied on him more than ever. So, how do we practice this kind of restraint? First, pause. When your emotions flare, that's your signal to breathe, not speak. Second, ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? In most cases, it won't. And third, remember the power of silence. Not every attack needs a counter. Not every insult deserves your energy. The truth is, silence gives you space. Space to think, to reflect, to respond with intention rather than impulse. It's a quiet kind of strength, the kind that builds character rather than chaos. Master your emotions, and you begin to master your life. And sometimes, the first step is simply staying silent until your wisdom, not your rage, is ready to speak. Number 2, when someone wants to provoke you. There are moments in life when silence becomes your strongest defense. especially when someone is trying to get under your skin. You've felt it before: a sarcastic comment in a meeting, a passive-aggressive jab during a conversation, or someone pushing your buttons just to see you lose your cool. Their goal isn't truth, it's reaction, and the moment you take the bait, you've given them exactly what they wanted: control. The Stoics warned us about this. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That's not just a quote. It's a strategy. When someone acts out of pettiness, ego, or insecurity, responding in kind only mirrors their weakness. But when you stay silent, when you hold your ground without lowering yourself, you rob them of their power. People who provoke often feed off conflict. They thrive on your reaction. Your frustration becomes their fuel. But what happens when you don't react? When you meet their fire with calm, you shift the dynamic entirely. You're no longer dancing to their tune. You become untouchable. Let me tell you about Olivia, a woman I once met during a leadership seminar. She worked with a colleague who constantly tried to sabotage her. Subtle interruptions during meetings, backhanded compliments, whispers of criticism masked as feedback. One day, during an important presentation, this colleague tried again, interrupting her mid-sentence with a smug remark meant to shake her confidence. But Olivia didn't flinch. She paused, looked at him, and simply said nothing. She turned back to her audience and continued with grace. That moment of silence was measured, intentional. It was the turning point. The room saw the truth without her having to explain it. That's what silence can do. It lets the noise reveal itself. So, how do you apply this in your own life? Start by recognizing the game. If someone is clearly baiting you, ask yourself, what do I gain by responding? Most of the time, the answer is nothing. Then, embrace silence, not as a retreat but as a statement. Let them expose their own intentions. And finally, hold on to your inner calm. Real strength isn't about having the last word. It's about knowing you don't need to. In the end, the person who cannot be provoked holds the true power, not because they lack emotion, but because they've mastered it. So, the next time someone tries to drag you into their chaos, choose silence. Watch how quickly they lose interest when you don't play their game. Number 3, when the other person isn't listening. Few things are more exhausting than trying to explain yourself to someone who's already decided not to hear you. You speak with clarity, maybe even with kindness, but their mind is closed. Their ears are shut, and their only goal is to win, not understand. It's like shouting into the wind. You give, but nothing comes back. In moments like these, the wise know when to stop speaking, because here is the Stoic truth: logic is wasted on ears that refuse to listen. You could offer the most reasoned argument, the clearest facts, the calmest delivery, but if the other person is only waiting for their turn to speak, or worse, only arguing to feed their ego, then your effort becomes an offering to futility. Seneca captured it best when he said, "Arguing with a fool proves there are two." The longer you try to convince someone unwilling to be convinced, the more you entangle yourself in their chaos. Silence, in contrast, does something remarkable. It reveals the futility of the situation without you needing to say another word. I remember a story from a friend. Let's call him Theo. He found himself in a heated workplace debate with a colleague who was absolutely convinced of a false claim. Theo, being well prepared, calmly presented his points. He cited evidence, gave examples, even invited open discussion. But his colleague wasn't listening. He was only defending. The more Theo explained, the more twisted the conversation became. Then Theo stopped, mid-discussion. He simply smiled, nodded once, and said nothing more. The silence stretched. His colleague grew agitated, looking for something to push against. But there was nothing left to fight. Eventually, the conversation ended, not with a dramatic conclusion, but with the quiet dignity of someone who knew when to walk away. That's the lesson. So, how do you know when to choose silence? First, pay attention. If you're repeating yourself and the other person keeps talking in circles, it's not a conversation, it's a performance. Second, use your silence as a mirror. Let their unwillingness echo back to them. And third, protect your peace. Just because someone demands your energy doesn't mean they deserve it. Remember, you don't have to prove your wisdom to someone who's not willing to see it. Sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is your silence, because it says, "I value my peace more than this argument." In the end, not every conversation is worth finishing. Some are better left with a quiet nod and the wisdom to walk away. Number 4, when the truth will only cause unnecessary harm. We're often told that honesty is always the best policy, but the Stoics taught us to look deeper, not just at what we say, but why we say it, because the truth, when used carelessly, can become a blade, and not every blade needs to be drawn. There are moments in life when speaking the truth serves no purpose but to wound. It doesn't bring clarity. It doesn't spark growth. It only causes pain, needless, preventable pain. In those moments, choosing silence isn't avoidance, it's discipline, it's compassion wrapped in wisdom. Epictetus once said, "Only speak if what you have to say is better than silence." That's a powerful filter. If your truth doesn't build, enlighten, or heal, what's it really for? Truth is not a weapon to be used in the heat of ego. It's a tool, and like any tool, it must be used with care, at the right time, in the right way. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Adrian, was at a family dinner when a relative asked for his honest opinion on a deeply personal matter. Adrian knew the truth could be harsh. Yes, he had thoughts. But would speaking them in that moment help? Would it bring growth? Or just shame? He paused. He chose not to respond directly. Instead, he listened. Later, in a quieter setting, he offered gentle guidance, truthful, but wrapped in kindness. And because he waited, the message was received, not resisted. He preserved both the truth and the relationship. This is Stoic wisdom in action. It's easy to speak your mind. It takes strength to measure your words. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Not every truth needs to be delivered raw. Sometimes silence is the bridge that keeps connection alive. So, how do you know when to hold back? First, check your intent. Are you speaking to help, or just to be right? Second, consider the timing. Even truth, when spoken at the wrong moment, can do more harm than good. And finally, embrace silence as a valid response. You don't owe everyone your opinion, especially when it risks causing harm without benefit. At the end of the day, wisdom isn't just about what you know. It's about how and when you express it. If your words won't improve the moment, let them rest. Sometimes, The greatest form of respect for others and for yourself is choosing to remain silent. And if you've stayed with me this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment, share a moment where silence served you better than speech, and don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. Your support helps bring more of this Stoic insight to life. Thank you for being here. Number 5. When someone is trying to manipulate you. One of the most powerful moments to stay silent is when you realize someone is trying to manipulate you. Manipulators are rarely loud or aggressive. They're subtle. They twist words, plant seeds of doubt, and create confusion disguised as concern. They know how to play with guilt, how to make you feel responsible for their choices, and how to turn your explanations into weapons. But here's the Stoic truth. Manipulation needs your participation. It needs your reaction, your defense, your justification. The more you explain, the more material they have to bend to their advantage. That's why silence isn't just protection, it's power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Silence is the safest reply to deceit," and it still rings true today. When you stay silent in the face of manipulation, you deny the manipulator what they crave most: control. You refuse to enter the game, and that refusal breaks their strategy. Let me share a story. A woman I once coached, let's call her Clara, worked with a colleague who had a habit of offloading tasks onto others under the disguise of friendship. "I thought you were the only one I could count on," he'd say. "Or worse, if you don't help, I might lose this client. But it's okay, you'll just figure it out." Subtle pressure. Guilt masked as vulnerability. At first, Clara would explain. She'd politely say she was too busy, offer compromises, even take on extra work out of discomfort. And every time, her words were turned back on her. Then one day, something changed. When the guilt came again, she said nothing, no argument, no excuse, just silence and a calm return to her own priorities. The result, her colleague floundered. Without her engagement, his manipulation fell flat. She had taken back her power without ever raising her voice. So, how do you apply this wisdom? First, recognize the pattern. If someone constantly makes you feel guilty or shifts blame onto you, pause. Ask yourself, is this about fairness or control? Second, resist the urge to explain. The more you talk, the more fuel they have. And third, let silence draw the line. It's not rude, it's a boundary. A quiet message that says, "I see what you're doing, and I choose not to play along." In the end, Stoicism teaches us that we can't control others, but we can control our response. When you stay silent in the face of manipulation, you reclaim your inner freedom. You protect your energy. You choose dignity over drama. So next time someone tries to twist your words or cloud your judgment, don't defend, disengage. Stay silent, stay grounded, and watch their illusion lose its grip. Number 6. When you need to observe first. One of the wisest moments to stay silent is when you're still gathering information, when clarity hasn't yet arrived, and the full picture hasn't come into view. In today's fast-paced world, people rush to speak, to react, to state their opinion first, as if speed equals intelligence. But the Stoics would disagree. Wisdom doesn't rush, it waits, it watches, it listens. Here is the truth: when you choose silence before forming judgment, You create space for understanding. You resist the trap of assumption. You allow reality to reveal itself instead of forcing your version of it onto the situation. Speaking too quickly may feel bold, but more often it reveals what you don't yet know. Epictetus said it best: "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak." This wasn't just a clever phrase, it was a principle. Talk less, listen more, observe deeply. The more you understand, the more powerful your words become when the time finally comes to use them. Let me share a story. A man I once worked with, let's call him Elijah, attended a high-stakes corporate meeting where 2 teams clashed over a critical decision. Everyone was chiming in, voices overlapping, opinions flying. Elijah, however, said nothing. He listened, he watched body language, noted key phrases, and picked up on tensions that others missed in their haste to argue. When the noise settled, Elijah spoke, not emotionally, not reactively, but with clarity and precision. He didn't just state his view. He brought insight that reframed the entire conversation. His silence had power because it was rooted in understanding. His boss noticed, and so did everyone else. From that point on, people listened when Elijah spoke, not because he talked often, but because when he did, it mattered. So, how can you use silence as a tool for observation? First, resist the urge to jump in. Just because you have a thought doesn't mean it needs to be shared immediately. Second, listen with full attention. Not just to words, but to tone, pauses, and what's left unsaid. That's where real information lives. And third, speak with intention. Say less, but mean more. Let your words carry the weight of thoughtful silence behind them. At the end of the day, silence isn't a lack of opinion. It's the sign of a mind that values clarity over noise. The wisest people aren't those who dominate the room. They're the ones who observe, reflect, and speak when the moment is right. So, before you respond, take a breath. Before you judge, take a look. And before you speak, make sure you've truly understood. That's the Stoic path. That's the power of silence. Number 7, when peace is more valuable than winning. There comes a time when the wisest thing you can do isn't to prove your point, but to protect your peace. Life will give you countless opportunities to argue, to be right, to win the conversation. But before you step into battle, ask yourself, what will it cost me? Not every conflict is worth your energy. Some victories are hollow. They win you the moment but lose you your calm, your relationships, or even your self-respect. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that the highest good isn't being right, it's being in control of yourself. And sometimes that means walking away in silence rather than fighting to be heard. Seneca said, "He who controls his tongue controls his destiny." That's not just poetic, it's practical. When you stay silent in the face of provocation, you're not giving up. You're choosing what matters most, your inner stillness. You're refusing to let someone else dictate your emotional state. Let me tell you a story. A woman I knew, let's call her Elise, got into a tense argument with a close friend. It started with a simple disagreement but quickly spiraled into personal jabs and defensiveness. Elise could have fought harder, could have won by out-arguing her friend. But in that heated moment, she paused. She took a breath and said nothing more. She let her friend have the final word and walked away, not defeated but composed. Later, once the emotions had settled, They revisited the conversation calmly because Elise had chosen silence instead of escalation. The friendship survived. She hadn't lost the argument. She had won something far more important: peace and connection. So, how do you know when to choose silence over proving a point? First, ask yourself, will this argument improve my life or just exhaust me? If the answer is the latter, it's not worth it. Second, consider the long-term impact. Will this matter a week from now, a month, a year if not? Walk away. And finally, remember that real strength is quiet. It's not about having the last word. It's about knowing you don't need it. The truth is, the person who doesn't feel the need to win every argument is truly free. Free from ego, free from pointless conflict, free to invest their energy in things that actually matter. At the end of the day, peace is a choice, and silence is often the first step toward it. So, next time you're tempted to fight just to be right, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this worth disturbing my inner stillness? If not, let go, because silence in that moment is the loudest proof of your strength. So, the next time you're tempted to speak just to prove a point, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, choose silence. Not out of fear, but out of strength. Because in a world that rewards noise, your calm is a quiet rebellion. Silence isn't about weakness. It's about wisdom. It's the mark of someone who knows their value doesn't depend on being right all the time. And if this message resonated with you, take a moment to like the video. It helps others find this calm too. If you're drawn to more timeless lessons like these, consider subscribing. There's much more to explore on this journey of inner clarity and quiet strength. Have a moment to share. Drop a quick "stay silent" in the comments. I'd love to know you're walking this path too. And remember, peace isn't found in winning every argument. It's found in knowing which ones are worth your voice. See you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into the wisdom that helps you live stronger, speak less, and stand taller. What makes a person truly commanding? Is it their voice, their status, their size, or number? It's something deeper, something unspoken. Imagine walking into a room. You don't shout, you don't demand attention, yet people take notice. They pause, they listen, not out of fear, but out of respect. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher. Think of Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders. Neither needed to raise their voice to be heard. Their presence alone spoke for them. Their words, few but deliberate, carried weight. This isn't luck, it's mastery, the art of silent power. The Stoics understood this well. True strength doesn't come from proving yourself, but from knowing yourself. In this video, I'll share 8 powerful habits that will make people respect you, not because you ask for it, but because you embody it. If you're ready to develop unshakable confidence and master the way you carry yourself, stay with me, and if any part of this resonates, let me know in the comments. Now let's unlock the habits that turn words into influence and presence into power. Habit number 1, move slowly and deliberately. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, a person's worth is measured by the things they let disturb them. In a world that rushes, the one who moves with purpose stands apart. Confidence isn't found in hurried steps or frantic speech. It's in control. Control over your body, your time, your presence. Think of the most respected person you know. Did they fidget? Did they speak too fast? Trying to fill every silence? Or did they move with calm certainty, carrying themselves as if they had nowhere better to be? Contrast that with someone who rushes into a room, speaking too quickly, shifting nervously, always trying to keep up. No matter what they say, their body reveals the truth. They are not in control. This is why Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders never rushes. Even in danger, he moves with measured precision. He isn't slow because he hesitates. He's slow because he owns the moment. His presence controls the room, not the other way around. I once made the mistake of thinking confidence meant keeping up. I spoke fast, moved quickly, and tried to match the pace of those around me. But instead of commanding respect, I looked like I was chasing it. Then I started watching those who truly had presence. They didn't rush, they didn't fidget. When they walked, they took their time. When they spoke, they paused. And when they looked at someone, they held their gaze, not with arrogance, but with certainty. That's when I realized the world follows those who move at their own pace. The moment you stop rushing, you stop seeking approval. And that's when people start paying attention. So how do you train this? Slow down. Walk into a room 20% slower than usual. Feel the difference. You're no longer reacting to the energy around you. You're controlling it. Practice stillness. Sit in a chair and observe yourself. Are you tapping your foot? Adjusting too much? Stop. The less you move, the more powerful your presence becomes. Pause before responding. When someone asks you a question, take a breath. Let the silence build. Let them lean in. Seneca once said, "A great man is known not by how much he speaks, but by how much he controls himself." This is your challenge. Discipline yourself to move with purpose. Let go of the need to rush. Speak with patience. Carry yourself with control. And watch as the world starts to listen. Habit number 2, mastering eye contact. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever flow if you are willing to dig." If controlled movement gives you command over space, then eye contact gives you command over human interaction. No words are needed, just the ability to look someone in the eye and, without speaking, convey, "I am here. I am unshaken." Imagine this: you're in a conversation, but the other person keeps glancing away. Their eyes dart down, then to the side, avoiding direct contact. What's your first impression? Likely that they're uncertain, nervous, perhaps even hiding something. Now picture someone else, someone who meets your gaze with calm, steady presence. They don't stare aggressively, nor do they fidget. Their eye contact is effortless, controlled, and in that moment, you feel it. They are fully present, fully in command of themselves. This is why characters like Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders demand respect without saying a word. When he looks at someone, he doesn't force his gaze, but he also doesn't break it too soon. He doesn't need to intimidate. His stillness does the work for him. I used to struggle with this, not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't yet comfortable with stillness. I would break eye contact too soon, unintentionally signaling hesitation. And every time I did, it made me seem less certain than I actually was. But when I trained myself to hold my gaze just a little longer, something changed. People started listening more intently. They took my words more seriously, not because I changed what I said, but because I changed how I carried myself. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once said, A person's eyes reveal more truth than their words ever could. Your gaze reflects your mind. If your mind is restless, anxious, uncertain, it will show. Your eyes will dart, shift, escape. But if your mind is steady, rooted in its own confidence, your eyes will hold firm. So how do you train this? Start with the 1-second rule. In your next conversation, hold eye contact just 1 second longer than usual before looking away. That extra second makes all the difference. If you must look away, don't drop your gaze downward, which signals submission. Now, Mr. Sane. Instead, shift it to the side. Mirror training. Stand in front of a mirror and hold your own gaze for 30 seconds. It will feel uncomfortable at first, but soon it will feel natural. Observe and learn. Watch those who command respect, whether in real life or on screen. Notice how their eyes move, how they hold their presence without force. Epictetus once taught, the more you practice self-control, the less you will fear the gaze of others. Master your eye contact, and you will master your presence. Hold your gaze, hold your mind, and the world will hold you in higher regard. Habit number 3, do not react. The power of staying unshaken. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to true strength. In every confrontation, there is a moment where the balance of power shifts, not because of who speaks the loudest, but because of who remains silent the longest. True power is not in reacting, but in choosing when and how to respond. Imagine 2 people in a heated argument. One raises their voice, growing agitated, desperate to prove their point. The other, they do not react. They listen, they observe. Their expression remains unchanged. While the first person burns energy, the second absorbs everything, calculating their next move. Who really holds the power in that moment? Most people are ruled by their emotions. A small criticism makes them defensive. A rude driver cuts them off, and they erupt in anger. Someone disagrees with them, and they argue endlessly, unable to let go. But reactivity is weakness. It means you are letting external events dictate your emotions. The Stoics understood this well. Control over oneself is the highest form of strength. I once worked with a man who embodied this principle. No matter what happened, tight deadlines, aggressive clients, unexpected setbacks, he never raised his voice, never panicked, even when criticized directly. He simply nodded, took a breath, and responded in calm, measured words. People listened to him not because he demanded respect, but because his presence commanded it. He showed no need to defend himself, no urge to react impulsively, and that is exactly why others trusted him. The world constantly tests you. It will push, provoke, and try to pull you into emotional chaos, but your strength is in your ability to remain still. When you refuse to react, you force others to reveal themselves first. You make them show their weaknesses while you remain unreadable, untouchable. This is Stoicism in action. Seneca once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You do not control the world. You only control how you respond to it. So, how do you train this skill? Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, do nothing for 2 seconds. Let the emotion pass through you before choosing a response. Control your body language, your breathing, your hands, your posture. Keep them steady. A calm body signals a calm mind. Master the power of silence in conflict. Resist the urge to respond immediately. Let silence linger. It will unnerve the other person more than any words ever could. Detach from emotional triggers. When someone insults you, ask yourself, does their opinion change my reality? Most of the time, the answer is no. And if it does not affect your reality, why let it affect your emotions? The next time someone tries to provoke you, try this. Do nothing. Breathe. Observe. Let them show their hand first. Let them waste their energy while you conserve yours. Let them react while you remain in control. Epictetus once taught, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. When you stop reacting to everything around you, you gain an unfair advantage in life. While others waste their energy on emotions, you remain steady, calculating, in control, and in a world full of noise. Those who master their emotions will always command respect. Habit number 4, expand your presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Some people walk into a room, and without saying a word, they are noticed. Others can talk for hours and still feel invisible. The difference, presence. Presence isn't about size, volume, or force. It's about how you carry yourself, the way you take up space, move, and engage with the world. A person with true presence doesn't demand attention. They attract it effortlessly. Imagine watching two speakers. One keeps their hands close to their body, voice uncertain, movements restricted. The other expands. They stand tall, gesture with confidence, make deliberate eye contact, and take their time speaking. Who do you pay attention to? The second person commands the room, not by being louder, but by owning their space. This isn't just about public speaking. It applies everywhere, in a business meeting, a social setting, or even a one-on-one conversation. Your ability to expand your presence determines how people respond to you. I once knew someone who mastered this effortlessly. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but when he spoke, people stopped and listened, not because of what he said, but because of how he carried himself. His posture was strong yet relaxed, his gestures intentional, his presence larger than his physical frame. He never had to fight for attention. He simply commanded it. You can develop this same quality. Here is how. Stand taller. Straighten your back. Pull your shoulders slightly back. And keep your chin up. Good posture instantly makes you appear more confident and engaged. Use open gestures. Avoid keeping your hands in your pockets or crossing your arms. Instead, gesture naturally with open palms and controlled movement. Match your presence to the room. Speaking to one person, keep your gestures subtle. Speaking to a group, expand them. The larger the audience, the bigger your movements should be. Own the pause. Don't rush your words. Allow pauses between sentences. Silence makes people lean in and listen more closely. Move with purpose. When you walk into a room, do so deliberately. Don't hesitate. Don't shuffle. Every step should reflect certainty. Seneca once said, the strongest presence belongs to those who do not seek approval. The world respects those who carry themselves like they belong. Walk into every room with purpose. Speak with presence. Move with confidence. Because when you own your space, the world takes notice. Habit number 5, speak with conviction. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, Never allow your mind to be a slave to what it does not control. Speak only what is necessary and let your words reflect your truth. Most people weaken their own words without realizing it. They say, "I think this might work, I'm not sure, but maybe we could try, hopefully. It will go well." These phrases drain power from their speech. They signal uncertainty and hesitation, as if they are waiting for permission instead of leading the conversation. Now imagine someone who speaks with clarity and certainty. This is the right approach. We will get this done. Here is the next step. No extra words, no unnecessary doubt, just a firm, confident statement. When you speak this way, people believe you not because you are louder, but because your words carry weight. And when your words have weight, people listen. I once had a colleague who was highly skilled and knowledgeable, but every time he spoke, he softened his words. "I think this could work, but I'm not sure." Even when he was absolutely right, people overlooked his suggestions. His words lacked conviction. But one day he changed his approach. He stopped using hesitant language and started speaking directly, and suddenly people started taking him seriously. His ideas had always been good. The difference was how he delivered them. This is what great leaders understand. Your voice doesn't need to be louder, your words need to be stronger. So how do you train this habit? Eliminate weak words. Remove phrases like "I think," "maybe," "I guess," and hopefully replace them with clear, direct statements. Lower your tone at the end of sentences. A rising tone makes statements sound like questions. Keep your tone steady or lower it slightly to sound firm and assured. Slow down. Speaking too fast signals nervousness. Instead, slow your pace. Pause where needed and give your words space to land. Say less, mean more. Don't over-explain. State your point, then let silence do the rest. Confidence is knowing you don't need to justify every word. Seneca once said, "A wise man speaks because he has something to say, not because he fears silence." If you want people to respect your words, stop asking for permission with your tone. Speak less, but say more. Speak calmly, but with force. And watch as people stop just hearing you. They start listening. Habit number 6, slow down your speech. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Let your words be measured and your speech be calm." Speak only when necessary and always with purpose. We've built control over our movement, our gaze, our reactions, and our presence. But now we turn to something just as powerful, the way we speak. Most people rush their words. They speak quickly because they fear silence, filling every gap with unnecessary phrases, diluting their message. But those who speak slowly, deliberately with purpose, those are the ones people truly listen to. Imagine two people telling a story. The first rushes through words, spilling over each other, their energy high but their message forgettable. The second speaks with intent. They let silence hang between sentences. When they pause, it's not because they've lost their train of thought, it's because they are letting their words sink in. Which one do you listen to more? Slowing down forces people to pay attention. It adds weight to your words, making even simple statements sound profound. Great leaders, actors, and philosophers all understand this. True power isn't just in what you say, but in how you say it. So how do you train this habit? The 1-second rule. After key sentences, pause for 1 extra second. Notice how it makes people lean in. Lower your pace by 10% the next time you speak. Intentionally slow down. It will feel unnatural at first, but to others, it will sound powerful. Use strategic pauses before saying something important. Pause. Silence creates tension, making people hang on to your next word. Seneca once said, "The man who masters silence masters speech." Master this, and you won't just be heard, you will be remembered. Habit number 7. Use leverage. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The mind adapts and converts obstacles into opportunities. What stands in the way becomes the way." Powerful people do not beg. They do not rely on hope, luck, or the goodwill of others to get what they want. Instead, they understand leverage, the ability to shape outcomes by knowing what others desire and fear. Most people approach persuasion the wrong way. They ask for things without offering a reason. They hope for cooperation instead of creating a reason for others to comply. They speak in terms of what they want, rather than what benefits the other person. Imagine 2 employees asking for a raise. The first says, "I've been here for a while, and I'd really like a raise. Can you increase my salary?" The second says, "Over the past 6 months, I've taken on additional responsibilities and improved key performance areas. I'd like to discuss how I can continue adding value at a higher level. What would you need to see from me in the next 3 months to make that happen? Who do you think gets the raise?" The difference is leverage. The second person does not plead. They position. They shift the conversation from a favor to a mutually beneficial negotiation. This applies to every area of life. If you want people to listen, support, or agree with you, remember, people don't care about what you want. They care about what serves them. So, how do you apply this? Frame requests around value. Instead of asking directly, position it in a way that benefits the other party. Make them see why it's in their interest. Control the options. Give choices that still lead to your desired outcome. Instead of asking, "Can we meet?" say, "Would Wednesday or Thursday work better for you?" Have a plan B. People respect those who have alternatives. If you negotiate, always have a backup option so you are never in a position of desperation. Use silence to your advantage. After making a request, say nothing. Many people talk themselves out of leverage by over-explaining. Let silence do the work. Seneca once said, "The world does not reward those who merely wish. It rewards those who position themselves wisely." Master this, and you will never have to beg for what you deserve. Habit number 8. Build inner confidence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Everything we've covered so far, your movements, your eye contact, your ability to stay unshaken, your presence, your speech, your persuasion, none of it matters if you lack the one thing that holds it all together: inner confidence. Most people believe confidence comes from external validation, status, appearance, approval from others. But real confidence, the kind that commands respect, comes from within. It is the unshakable belief that you can handle whatever comes your way, no matter the situation. Think about the most respected people you've met. Were they the loudest in the room? Did they constantly seek to prove themselves? Or did they move through life with quiet certainty, as if they had nothing to prove? This is true confidence. It is not arrogance. It is not pretending to be fearless. It is knowing deep in your core that you are enough without needing validation. A Stoic does not wait for the world to recognize their worth. They act in accordance with their values and let respect come as a byproduct of how they live. So how do you build this kind of confidence? Keep promises to yourself. Confidence isn't built overnight. It is forged through consistency. Every time you set a goal and follow through, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on yourself. Detach from external approval. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, would I still do this? If the answer is yes, then it is worth doing. Expose yourself to discomfort. Confidence grows in adversity. Speak up when it's uncomfortable. Take on challenges that scare you. Each time you push past fear, you expand your limits. Accept that you are enough. The moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you become truly powerful. You are not defined by how others see you, but by how you see yourself. Seneca once said, "A man's true power lies in his ability to master himself." At the end of the day, respect is not something you demand, it's something you attract. When you walk with certainty, when you trust your own abilities, when you live in alignment with your principles, people take notice. And the best part, by that point, you won't need their validation anymore. We've explored 8 habits that transform how the world perceives you. Not quick tricks, but principles of self-mastery. Move with purpose. Own your presence. Speak with conviction. Stay unshaken. The moment you stop chasing respect is the moment you command it effortlessly. If this resonated with you, like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Power starts within. Master these habits, and the world will take notice. In the next video, we'll go even deeper. Are you ready? Have you ever felt like your days slipped through your fingers, lost to distractions, wasted on things that add nothing to your life? You wake up with intentions, yet by nightfall your time has been scattered, your energy drained, and your mind clouded. This is not fate. This is not bad luck. This is the slow erosion of your power, the quiet theft of your potential. The Stoics understood that true mastery is not given. It is taken through focus, through discipline, through an unwavering commitment to what truly matters. You could be good today, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, but instead you choose tomorrow. How many moments have been lost to hesitation? How many opportunities wasted in the belief that there will always be more time? This episode is not about passive wisdom. It is about action. We are breaking down 9 Stoic principles that will sharpen your focus, strengthen your discipline, and lead you towards silent success, the kind that needs no validation, no applause, only results. If you are ready to stop surrendering your life to noise and distraction, stay with me. Let's begin. Mastering your attention. Your mind is under siege every moment. Something fights for your focus. Social media, designed to keep you hooked. Notifications, engineered to disrupt your thoughts. A relentless flood of noise that drowns out your own clarity. And most people, without resistance, surrender. They wake up and immediately check their phones, filling their minds with distractions before they've even had a chance to think. They go through the day reacting, not acting, pulled in every direction except the one that truly matters. But a Stoic does not allow the world to dictate their mind. They understand that attention is life. What you focus on, you become. Seneca warned, "You are living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you. Every moment spent on the trivial is a moment stolen from your purpose, your growth, your mastery, and yet people act as if their focus is infinite, as if they can afford to waste time on the meaningless. But the difference between the strong and the weak, the successful and the lost, is simple. Who controls their attention? Think of the last time you sat in silence, not reaching for a device, not seeking stimulation, not escaping into distractions. Most can't do it. They have trained themselves to avoid stillness, to fear their own thoughts. But Epictetus reminds us, if you wish to improve, be willing to appear ignorant in useless matters. Not everything is worthy of your attention. A sharp mind is not one that consumes the most, but one that filters out the noise and focuses only on what truly matters. To reclaim your mind, choose wisely. Not all debates deserve engagement. Not all information is worth consuming. Every time you give in to the meaningless, you weaken your ability to focus on the meaningful. Before you check, scroll, or react, ask, does this serve me? If not, walk away. Train yourself to embrace stillness. People avoid silence because they fear themselves. But some silence is where mastery begins. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you want strength, guard your mind. If you seek discipline, build it through focus. Attention is power. Waste it, and you waste your life. Choose wisely. Seize control before the world controls you. If you do not take command of your life, someone else will. Most people drift, reacting instead of directing, following instead of leading. They let society, family, and even strangers shape their choices and define their identity. But the Stoics knew that true freedom is not doing whatever you please. It is having the strength to do what you must.